girl named Carrie walks into the office of her therapist, Petrov, and drops a big turkey on his table. She complains that her father, who is a friend of the doctor, has just informed her that he's staying in London, even though he promised to come and see her in New York. Carrie is unhappy about this, and she complains about how her dad never keeps his promises. Dr. Petrov asks why she can't just go to London to see him, but Carrie says she doesn't like London. When he also asks if it has anything to do with her late mom, Carrie says she just likes New York better. He then starts the session by asking what she did during the past week, and Carrie says she read many books, which is what she's always doing. When Dr. Petrov asks if she thinks it's normal, she says nothing about her is normal, especially since she's only just 19 and she graduated from Harvard last year. Carrie still seems really angry about what her father did, but the doctor tells her that even though she's like a genius, she needs to try to do other things to be happy. He tells her to write down a list of goals she would like to achieve before the end of the year, but Carrie says she has no idea what to write on the list, and the doctor suggests things like making a friend, spending New Year's Eve with someone, or getting a pet. Carrie doesn't think this will work because she prefers to be alone, but he convinces her, after which she leaves. That night, while she's watching a show on TV, she hears a weird sound coming from outside the house. As she checks, she sees a guy named Cy playing an instrument called didgeridoo. She tells him he's disturbing her, and he agrees to stop. After she goes back in, Carrie receives a call from her dad, who says sorry for not being able to make it, but he promises to be with her in New York for Christmas. He then says he has gotten a job for her as a proofreader at a legal firm. Even though he says it's good news, Carrie thinks it's bad because she hasn't had time to live life like her mates. However, Carrie eventually accepts the offer, with her dad saying it's a cool job and she'll only work night shifts. The next night, Carrie goes to the legal firm, and after looking around for a while, she sees a guy named Douglas, who starts to show her what she'll be doing. A while later, a lady named Tara also introduces herself as a co-worker. In the morning, Carrie goes to Dr. Petrov's office for her session. There, she tells him that she now has a job, which her dad got for her. The doctor thinks it's good and then asks for the list he told her to write. Carrie says she didn't think it was important, and he then gives her the one he wrote. As Carrie looks at it, she sees some of the things he talked about during the last session. Dr. Petrov also adds reading her favorite book and doing something she liked as a child to the list. Carrie repeats that she's not interested in any of it, as she knows it won't make her happy. However, just as the doctor tells her to use it to prove him wrong, she starts to think of the time she first met her English professor at Harvard, named Harrison, who she would eventually have a relationship with. Shortly after, Carrie returns to reality and says she'll try everything on the list, but says she can't read her favorite book because she lent it to someone who didn't return it. The doctor tells her to get it back, and after a while, she leaves. She starts off with the list by going to a store where she buys a goldfish from a guy named Davy, who convinces her to buy 2. She takes a picture of the fish as she gets outside the store as proof to show her doctor she actually got a pet. That night, while she's looking after her fish, she hears someone coughing close to her window, and when she checks, she sees Cy sitting next to the window of the next apartment. She tells him she might have to call the police on him because she thinks he might break into the next apartment. Cy looks confused and tells her it's where he lives, but Carrie says she doesn't see him there. He then explains that his roommate, Ted, is the one always around, and he only stays outside because Ted doesn't like it when he plays his didgeridoo inside. Before Carrie goes back in, he asks if she would like to play his instrument to help her relax, but she takes offense and believes he's insulting her. She returns to her room and picks up a soda from the fridge before heading to work. There, she drinks the soda and then takes a picture of it to cross off another goal, as the drink represents something she liked while growing up. A while later, Tara comes over to ask her questions to get to know her better. Carrie tells Tara she went to Harvard, and this leaves her shocked as she also calls Douglas to tell him. As they both then admire her, they ask if she's seeing anyone, but she says she's not interested in that. The next day, she goes to meet Dr. Petrov again. She informs him that she has completed 2 of the goals on the list, and he looks happy about it. Carrie, however, doesn't feel it's easy to make friends and get someone to take her on a date, but the doctor tells her to keep trying, and she soon leaves his office. When she gets home, Carrie looks at a section in the newspaper where she finds the contact details of men who are interested in a relationship. One particular request from a guy named Matt leaves Carrie shocked, as he is looking for someone to spend some time with, even though he's engaged. She calls him and leaves a message, saying she's interested, but her true intention is to find out who his fiancé is, so she can report him. Not long after, he calls her back, and they pick a spot to meet. On the day they're to meet up, Carrie leaves her room only to meet Sai standing outside. He says he only wants to say sorry for what he said the other day, and if she doesn't mind, he would like to buy her dinner. Carrie thanks him, but says she's going out to meet someone, so she can't take his offer. When she arrives at the restaurant, she finds Matt, who looks nervous as she approaches the table. The date goes better than expected, because Matt can understand Carrie's jokes. Since he also went to MIT, they have a lot to talk about, and she eventually doesn't go through with her plan. Carrie confesses to him and says she thought he'd be a bad person, but he has actually impressed her. She then asks why he's not okay with his fiancée, and Matt says he has been with her since they were really young, and now that their wedding is just 2 months away, he thinks something is missing. Carrie says the best thing for him is to talk to his fiancée about it, because she's not going to help him ruin his relationship. She eventually leaves, but that night at work, Tara tells her she should have agreed to help Matt. Tara justifies it by saying he's not married yet, and she can still be with him. Carrie doesn't believe it's a good thing, but Tara tells her to ask him for his fiancé's middle name. She says if he knows it, then it means he really likes her. Before they end their conversation, Tara invites Carrie to a show she's going to. Carrie agrees to go, and there, Tara continues to give her bad advice about hanging out with Matt. While they're talking, Tara sees Carrie's list and asks if she's dying. Carrie says it was given to her by her therapist, who told her to do the things there so she can be happy. Tara says Carrie doesn't need the list to be happy, and she can help her. She then says on New Year's Eve, she'll be having a party that Carrie needs to attend. After a while, Carrie leaves Tara at the show, and on her way home, she sees Dr. Petrov come out of a house with a strange woman. She eventually does some detective work and realizes that he is having an affair with a married woman. She immediately picks up her phone to call her dad to inform him about this. However, a woman named Fliss answers the call and tells Carrie that it's finally good to hear from her. As Carrie is confused, her dad takes the phone from Fliss and tells his daughter that he's sorry for not mentioning Fliss earlier. Her father also says he can't come for Christmas anymore, and he wants Carrie to come to London instead, so she can finally meet Fliss, who he plans to marry. Carrie can't believe everything he says because he's breaking yet another promise. Before her father can say any other thing, Carrie hangs up and looks really sad. She then calls Matt and goes to his place to do what Tara had advised. However, Carrie eventually decides against it, as she believes Matt is selfish. Matt tells Carrie he likes her, but she says she doesn't want to be part of his relationship issues. As she's leaving, Matt tells her she's acting like a child, and this triggers the memory of the night she lent her Professor Harrison her favorite book. That night, though, Harrison suddenly gets pissed over a small issue and also calls her a child. Back to reality, Carrie sees a call from Matt while she's outside his house, but she smashes her phone and regrets it instantly. When she gets back home, she realizes that she left her window open and the cold has killed one of her fish. She looks really sad and takes the other one back to the store where she bought them. Davy says he can't take it back because it's against store policy, but Carrie says she doesn't want to be responsible for the death of the other one. Before Davy can say anything, Carrie quickly runs to return the fish to a glass aquarium in the store, with Davy not looking pleased. When Carrie returns home that night, she gets bored and starts screaming. Sai knocks on her window to see if anything is wrong, but she lies that it's just the noise from the TV. He then tells her that since it's Christmas Eve, they can take a walk together. Even though she hesitates initially, she eventually agrees, and they leave the house together. While walking, Sai talks about how Carrie is lucky to be living alone because his friend Ted is unbearable. He also talks about how he can play many instruments, with Carrie also talking about her time in school. After a while, Carrie asks if his parents are proud of his interest in music, but he says his dad doesn't like discussing it. Carrie also talks about how her dad keeps disappointing her, though Sai says he's sure her dad loves her and there are just things beyond his control. As they walk near a shop playing loud music, Sai asks her to dance with him, and while they're dancing, he notices that she's cold, so he gives her his jacket, and as she sees a book in his pocket, she says she has to leave. Before she walks away, though, she tells him he's not as bad as she thought he would be. Just then, Carrie heads to a phone booth and calls Harrison. A woman answers the call, but Carrie says she wants to speak to Harrison. When he gets to the phone, Carrie asks for her book back, but he says he's in the middle of hosting a Christmas party and he'll get back to her in a month when he's back at his office. Before Carrie can say anything else, he ends the call and leaves her angry. The next day, Carrie goes to Dr. Petrov's house to confront him about his affair and to also tell him she's not interested in the list anymore. She tells him about the fish that died and how she almost ruined Matt's engagement. The doctor tells Carrie to come in, but she says she's not doing that. She then continues to talk about the list and how it won't make her happy. She also mentions that her favorite book is with her professor, and we find out she had a relationship with him. Meanwhile, her father comes out of the house and looks shocked to hear this. Carrie can't believe her father is around, and Dr. Petrov says it's the reason he asked her to come in. Her father says he was worried about her, and that's why he came. He also says her line wasn't going through, and she says it's because she smashed her phone. Carrie remains really angry, and as her dad mentions that he came to meet her because she hates London, she says he's the one she hates. She then throws away her list at the doctor and leaves angrily. A while later, as she's walking home, she sees her dad at her favorite spot in the city. He asks her to sit with him, and when she does, he says sorry for disappointing her all the time. He also mentions that when her mom died, he thought he failed her, and because he was scared of failing Carrie as well, he thought she'd be better off without him always being there. Carrie says she didn't like it and then asks about Harrison. Carrie says he broke her heart, and he asks if he tried to hurt her. Carrie says he didn't do anything like that, and then asks about the book she lent him. She says it's her favorite book, which her mom gave her as a present. Her father gets up and asks where Harrison lives so they can go and collect it. Carrie doesn't think it's a good idea, but her father insists. When they get to Harrison's house, his wife Amanda answers the door first before he also joins her. Harrison is shocked to see Carrie, who says she's there for her book, as he says he'll look for it later and get it sent to her. Her father enters the house and says they will take the book immediately. Even though Harrison tries to stop them because he has guests around, Carrie and her father don't care. They walk around the house until they find the book. Before leaving, Carrie's father punches Harrison in his face and tells him that not returning a book he borrowed is rude. When they get outside, Carrie looks happy with what her dad did for her. She then tells him she has missed him, and he also says the same, after which he says sorry for everything he did. Days later, Carrie goes to see Dr. Petrov. She informs him that she is reconciled with her dad, who has already gone back to London. The doctor says it's a good thing, but Carrie asks him about his relationship with the married woman. He gives nothing but excuses as to why he's with this woman, but her question helps him see that he's doing the wrong thing. Carrie then shows him her favorite book and says she now feels motivated to complete every other thing on the list. He gives her back the list she threw away and tells her that it's possible for her to find happiness, after which she says she knows. On New Year's Eve, Carrie finishes her book and takes a picture of it. She then remembers Tara's party and goes there. When they meet, Carrie says Tara has helped her cross something off the list, which is to make a friend. Tara then looks happy to know that Carrie sees her as a friend. When she's back home, Carrie decides to spend time with Sai to cross off the last thing on her list, which is to spend time with someone on New Year's Eve. She goes to his room and sees Sai, who asks if she wants to come in. Just as she's about to go in, she says she needs to do something in her room first. She then heads to her room to cross off the final thing on her list. After she's through, Sai shows up by her window and tells her to come outside so they can watch the fireworks together. As she sits with him and watches the fireworks, he asks what her middle name is, and this makes her smile. Thanks for tuning in. A thumbs up would be amazing because I've got some bills to pay. All this money, money, money coming to me. No handouts, I really had to